Hello and welcome to Grid Vision's coverage of the Global Racing Truck Series here on Sunday night. Of course, we're at Bristol Motor Speedway this evening and definitely going to be an exciting action here at the Last Great Coliseum. We've been seeing a lot of Bristol this week, and I kind of said a little bit earlier in the week I was going to get tired of Bristol, but to be honest with you, I have not. It's been just awesome to watch this show, watch these guys go around this track. It's definitely been a war every single time. Of course, my name is Brian Britt. I have Austin Edstrom as my co-commentator here, and of course, Austin Derbyshire down behind the cameras. Of course, later tonight, I do want to mention a little bit. We're not going to really go through the full schedule here because we only have one race later tonight, which is the RGR, the start of their Xfinity Series, which is I do believe, the Rylu Glass Cup Xfinity Series, which is going to be starting at Bristol as well here tonight. 200 laps in the Xfinity car. Look forward to that at about 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But Austin, how are you doing tonight, man? Today, I should say, some Bristol on the docket. We've been getting our fair share, our fix of Bristol, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm a little hungover on Bristol, just a little bit, But as you mentioned, I mean, it's been pretty good shows over and over and over again. So I'm looking forward to it, and I haven't seen a truck race here yet this week, so I'm excited to see kind of how the trucks go. Bobby Mantle's sitting on pole currently, running a 14.39. That's faster than I've seen a lot of people go in the Cup car so far this week. So truck actually has a lot of speed in it this week, so I think we're going to get a pretty good showing here today.
Yeah, that's interesting to say the least. I mean, we've been seeing around that 14.4 mark in qualifying in the top level of Coke or of Cup Series kind of competition in A Open and NIS, but so to see these trucks be able to go a little bit faster doesn't really surprise me, though, in a lot of ways, though, just considering we see these trucks don't have as much power, so it means they're not going to be quite as wiggly, I say, off the corner. They're able to kind of put the power down to the track a little bit better, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of a double-edged sword with that. The next gen is just kind of like once you start getting loose, you're just kind of along for the ride. I feel like the truck, they can get loose like that, but you have a little bit better chance to save it. So I think that it's probably a little bit easier to have a green flag run in the truck than it is the Cup car this week. So I definitely wouldn't say you're wrong. It's just kind of like two different beasts. There's a little bit of there's a couple things that are harder in the truck and a couple things that are harder than the next gen car that we've been used to broadcasting all week.
100%. I want to go through the point standings right quick just before we get started here tonight. Of course, Chad McGinley up at the top of the board right now, leading the points after last week's, I do believe, a pretty good finish there for him. Of course, last week, Michael Hayes was able to win. He moved up 8 spots in the playoffs here. He's up to second. Third place, Austin McGill. He's down a spot to third. Up 3 spots, EJ Luna. Fifth place is Bobby Mantle. He's up 2 spots. Ricky Hudgens is in 6th. Daniel Otts in 7th. And tied for 8th, Stephen Hayes and Mark Royce. Of course, Dale Brooks has been having just terrible runs here as of late. He's now in 10th in the points right now. Of course, Justin LeBlanc sits 11th, 12th, Steve Gerber, Stephen 9th, and 13th. And last but not least, 14th here, David Holsey. Do want to give a shout out to David Holsey and his family. We do want to apologize, or say rest in peace to his cousin who recently passed in a tragic car accident. And that is why he's going to be absent here tonight. So our hearts are with you, David, and we hope everything, kind of works out. I know it's got to be a tough time for that family. But it looks like I do believe we're going to be moving on, if I'm not mistaken, into the starting grid here tonight. And, of course, that will have Bobby Mantle at the top of the board. A 14.3 lap there for him, so very fast lap. Of course, Stephen Knight has been really heating up here in the season. He's qualified second. Dale Brooks is going to be starting in third. Daniel Ott in 4th place. Chad McGinley in 5th. Justin LeBlanc in 6th. Stephen Hayes in 7th. Last week's winner in Michael Hayes is going to be starting in 8th. Steve Gerber starts 9th. EJ Luna starts in 10th.
11th is Mark Royce. 12th, Ricky Hudgens 2nd. 13th, Joshua Slade. And 14th, Kenny Heath.
So 14-car field here tonight. Most of the field is playoff drivers. Pretty much the top 12, I do believe, are all going to be playoff drivers. You can see the P beside their names on our standings here. So definitely going to be interesting to see how all these playoff drivers kind of mingle with the non-playoff drivers. I know we talked about it really heavily last week. We saw a awesome battle between Joshua Slade and Michael Hayes last week, and he's a non-playoff driver. Could he put on another show like that He's going to be starting from about 13th though, so that's going to be a little bit of a difficult thing. I don't know how big track position is in this car, but I know in the Cup car it is very important.
Yeah, I mean, with it being such a small field, I feel like Joshua Slade actually has a decent chance to work his way through the field. He didn't put in a Q lap, so I don't quite know what his pace is actually looking like. I think he was about P4 or 5 on the practice chart. So I think that Joshua Slade could kind of find his way up towards the front. Kind of been surprised here recently with just how good his, the long run pace has been for Slade over the last couple weeks. So I do think that with the field being a little bit smaller today, that we could get those long green flag runs and we could see Slade pick his way through the field.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, 200 laps, relatively short for a Bristol race. If it goes green, this thing's going to fly right by fairly quickly. Of course, these guys do not have enough fuel to make it to the end of the race, though, of course. They have 4 sets of tires down in the pit, so not really a whole lot of tires to play with as well. I do believe that's 50 laps per set, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe a little bit less than that, just considering they do have 1 tire on the race truck already. But this is definitely going to be curious to see how these guys play with these resources here that they have available to themselves. I know we saw in the next gen, the tire wear is very significant to where we see even guys on long runs, 100-plus lap runs, we see even danger of possibly blowing a tire. I'm curious if that's going to be the same case here in the truck.
I think we're going to see a lot of tire wear, if I'm going to be honest with you. But the pace car is pulling off, coming out of turn number 4. Bobby Mantle leading us to the green.
And there it is, green flag out for the first time here in the Global Racing Truck Series. Bobby Mantle getting a pretty good start. Dale Brooks trying to see if he can't possibly get by Stephen Knight on the bottom here. Knight, of course, using the top side. The top side does give a pretty good run. He gets into the wall just a little bit, neck and neck for that second place position. Of course, at the top has been looking fantastic here as of late. Really have been heating up during this point of the playoffs. Dale Brooks desperately needs a good finish here. As of course we have, I do believe after this, 2 races left in the round 1. Caution flag is down. Steve Gerber, I do believe, with some issues.
Backed up against the outside fence going into turn number 3. We're going to have to get a replay on that to see what happened to Steve Gerber going down into the corner. Looking at the bottom here of EJ Luna in the 24 machine coming off of turn number 2 right here. And he just kind of clears himself over EJ's nose. EJ was all the way up by the wall, and Steve just kind of drifted up a little bit higher on the racetrack than he needed to, and just really didn't leave Luna the room that he needed. So I don't think there was too much damage on that 8 truck, so he'll probably be able to be fine. Maybe get a little bit of that damage fixed. Shouldn't really take too much speed out of that truck though.
No, I mean, I agree. It's unfortunate that Steve Gerber, kind of did that. I mean, I think he probably, his spotter might have been telling him he was clear, but he definitely was not. And unfortunate, And this is one of those tracks where I think that's very easy to happen, just considering, you really do want to track out as much as you can to kind of get that momentum off of the corner. So unfortunately, that's going to bring us a caution out on lap number 3. So definitely going to shake up the rhythm of a lot of these drivers out here. For sure, we'll have to wait and see how that kind of all plays out. But Bobby Mantle, of course, in the lead. Stephen Knight sits 2nd. Dale Brooks in 3rd. Chad McGinley 4th. Daniel Ott in 5th. And those are the top 5 at the moment. All playoff drivers. The top 8 at the moment are playoff drivers. One driver that had a really good start, though, we talked about started in the rear of the field. Joshua Slade, he's up to 9th already. Just gained like 3 or 4 spots already.
Yeah, great job from Slade. But, you're talking about just how people coming off the corner, you got to use all the exit. I mean, I've only ran 2 A Opens this week myself, and then obviously watched the full-length NIS. And Bristol just lends itself to door-to-door contact coming off the corners. We've seen it multiple times this week. I mean, I had multiple door-to-door 0Xs in just the 2 races that I ran. So it's just very natural to come off that corner on the bottom and try to use as much of the racetrack as possible. But in Steve Gerber's instance there, it's a little early, so maybe you should give a little bit more room. And on top of that, whenever you're so almost clear to where it's your quarter panel hitting their front bumper, the only person that's going to hurt is you. Obviously that little bit of contact is just going to send you into the outside wall immediately. So you just kind of got to know, okay, I got to turn a little bit harder off the corner this time just to make sure, because if it's just side by side and you're completely even coming off the corner, you just make pretty harmless door contact and just both of you continue down the straightaway. Especially with the damage model that we have on all 3 NASCAR vehicles now, it's no damage if you just make a little bit of door contact. But if you got a little bit more overlap like that to where you're almost clear, you got to be a little bit better coming off the corner and just making sure you turn that thing down off the wall to make sure you don't really clear yourself, because you're just going to go hard in the wall like we saw Steve Gerber do there on lap number 2.
Yeah, just unfortunate for sure. And the damage model, new damage model, definitely pays, I think, a lot more punishment for things like that too. So I'm surprised the damage wasn't really worse, but glad for him as the green flag is back out in the air. Bobby Mantle up to the gears. Very good restart there for him as he pulls away from Stephen Knight. Of course, at the top, 1-2 right now. You see Chad McGinley's trying to make it a 1-2-3 as he battles with Dale Brooks. Brooks is on the bottom side, trying to get the run on exit, not quite able to get it. It's just so difficult to make the passes on the bottom, as you can see.
Yeah, it's easier in 1 and 2 just because it's a wider corner, so you can kind of use a little bit more throttle on the bottom. But in 3 and 4, the car on the outside can really just wrap the top, kind of break in the middle of the corner, get the nose to rotate, and really hold onto your right rear quarter panel down the front stretch. So it makes it a whole lot harder to hang on to it in 3 and 4 than it is in 1 and 2. But honestly, I know Dale Brooks is holding on to that P3 spot right now, but and we've talked a lot about at the top the last couple of weeks just because they've had such a
We got a car around. Joshua Slade is around, and it looks like that is going to bring the caution flag out. The 12 of Joshua Slade goes around. If you take a look at this, I'm wondering if it was based on contact. We see Justin LeBlanc's right there above him. And yeah, just a loose condition coming out of turn number 4. We've seen that in the Cup car quite a bit. Guys trying to pass on that bottom, getting loose out of 4. That happens a lot. And, now we're seeing it. Apparently it happens in the truck as well. No contact with anything like you just mentioned. But he was on his way to the front. I mean, he had been driving his way through the field, and unfortunately, I think might just a little bit too aggressive on the gas pedal coming off the corner, you think, or what?
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit too much wheel and a little bit too much gas trying to stay on the bottom of Justin LeBlanc there for the 7th place position. It was coming out of turn 4, like I mentioned, that corner is a lot tighter than 1 and 2. So whenever you're wrapping the bottom like that, it becomes very easy for the back end of the car to step out coming out of turn number 4. And I just think that's what we saw there. But it's not very often that I see somebody spin coming out of the corner at Bristol and not touch anything. So honestly, really good job from Slade to keep that car with no damage, because I mean, God bless, I couldn't tell you how many times I've spun out of one of these corners and just absolutely murdered the wall. So very surprising, and really cool to see Slade be able to hold on to that thing as well as he did.
No, yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, though, it looks like he is going to pit lane probably to take a new set of tires, and that's I don't know if I really want to be using a set of tires this early. Just considering, I mean, and we've already seen as well. Steve Gerber's come down pit road. I do believe EJ Luna. Of course, I think EJ Luna did not take tires. I think he just spent 5 seconds down on pit road. But like I mentioned, the tires are kind of a finite resource today. 4 sets that you really have to play with. That's not a lot. I mean, considering when we were in the NIS competition, of course, that was 500 laps. Those guys had like 14 sets of tires.
Yeah, only having 4 behind the pit wall, 5 total with the ones that you start your race on. It's not a lot for 200 laps, but with there being only 14 cars in the field, I do think that we're going to get a long green flag run at some point. So it's going to kind of make the tire, like how many tire sets you have, moot. I don't think that it's going to be a big deal. I mean, obviously, if we continue with the cautions like we've been getting, then it absolutely will be. But I just have a hard time seeing this thing run heavily under caution for the entirety of the event. I really think that we're going to get a long, like 100 lap green flag run at some point.
Yeah, definitely hope so. As the pace car lights are out, Bobby Mantle, of course, still out front. Everybody's starting to try to see if they can maybe guess when he's going to go to maybe get a little bit of restarts. That's the thing about it. If you keep having restarts, the guys are going to start to realize, okay, this is when he's going. I can kind of time this out. As we see, the pace car should be dipping down pit road here any moment as Bobby Mantle set to get the green flag. Of course, Dale Brooks has been battling quite hard for that 3rd position. There goes the pace car, and here we go. Green flag back out in the air. Mantle not getting as good of a restart there, but he does clear for the lead. Stephen Knight able to get down in front of Dale Brooks. Brooks still battling now with Chad McGinley. Of course, Chad McGinley, our new points leader.
Yeah, they're still side by. Brooks just can't get away from each other. As soon as they do get single filed out after a restart, we've just had a caution. So just interesting to see how they've, every time that they get done with their battle, we get a caution, and they just line up side by side once again. But Chad McGinley finally gets a really good run off 3 and 4. I think he tags the ball just a little bit and allows Dale Brooks to get a little bit more of a run down on the bottom. Unfortunately for Dale, the 2 guys in front of him are also running the bottom. And Stephen Hayes tags the wall coming out of turn number 2. That was right behind the lead foursome. But Dale Brooks still holding really strong on that inside, not letting Chad McGinley completely go, but he does have that dirty air to contend with from Stephen Knight and Bobby Mantle right in front of him. So I think Chad McGinley's probably in the preferred lane at this point. Oh man, Dale Brooks drives it in super deep down into turn number 3. Not much room between the two competitors going down into the corner, and they make a little bit of contact coming out of 4.
Yeah, Dale needs to kind of calm it down a little bit. I understand he is desperate. I mean, I think the way his season has been going, the way his playoffs have been going, have forced him into like a desperation mode in a lot of ways. But this is not the answer. This is just going to a lot of times make everything worse. So, you know, he's trying his best to see what he can do against Chad. Not quite able to do anything thus far, as he's just going to resign himself, I think, to fall behind Chad McGinley. He's just going to have to hope he's better on the long run. I think he just needs to figure out how those top drivers are better, try to adjust on the race car as this race goes on. As, of course, we were watching the battle. Stephen Hayes has worked his way up to 5th. We see Mark Royce running around the top. I like that diamond line he's using. He's kind of running up high and then trying to use the run off the, you know, kind of to narrow it out coming off to get that run. I love the diamond line around this place. As you see, of course, Mark Royce.
Oh, Chad McGinley's over the outside wall.
McGinley. And I think Mark Royce might have got a little bit of a piece of Chad McGinley there. I'm wondering what happened, if that was based on any contact. Because we thought that battle was done with Brooks and McGinley, but it looks like possibly was not finished. You see right here on your screen, Dale Brooks tries to go to the inside, and there just was not an inside to go to. You can see Chad left just a hair of space, and I think Dale saw daylight, tried to go through it, and there was just not enough room for him to go.
Yeah, turn 3 is just not really the corner that you can drive it in deep like that and expect to get a good run off the corner and stay on somebody's inside, though. So I don't, you know, if it's turn 1, I think that you've got a little bit more of a stake to claim into that space because you can kind of wrap the bottom and make it work, but it just kind of felt like a little bit of a late dive bomb going down into turn 3. And just, I mean, I don't know, that's a tough one. They didn't enter the corner. It's not like he had any overlap going into the corner at all. So, I mean, it's a dive bomb at the end of the day, but also if I'm in Chad McGinley's position running P3 and I look in the mirror and I see somebody duck to the bottom like that, I'm just going to run the corner really high so that I can get the good run off the exit and hold on to the position. So I would, if I had to blame fault or lay fault, right, I would put it on Dale Brooks, right? I would definitely put fault on Dale Brooks, but I think Chad could have done something to avoid the incident also. That's a lot of racing incidents though, you know, and I'm not calling these guys like low iRating or anything, but I'm on the iRacing Reddit, and anytime somebody puts like an at fault video or something in there, a lot of people are very hesitant to take the criticism of like, yeah, the accident wasn't your fault, but you could have done something to avoid it. There's so many accidents like that in racing, and I just feel like Chad could have done something a little bit different this early in the race, seeing how aggressive Dale was going down into the bottom. Like I said, if he would have just ran the outside line, he gets the run off the corner and he clears Dale going coming out of turn number 4. So I don't know. I just think that there could have been a little bit of smarter driving on both sides, but I would still have to put the blame of the incident there on Dale.
I mean, I kind of take a little bit of a different view there. I think it just happened so fast. I think Dale made that dive bomb so early that I don't think really Chad had time to kind of do anything different. I think he was just kind of running his line and then, you know, looking forward and driving forward like a driver should do at Bristol. And, you know, like I just don't see, I mean, I know you're a capable driver. I'm not as capable of a driver, so maybe, I don't know, you see it from a different perspective as me. But, I mean, I just think that if Chad's looking forward and driving forward, I think there was nothing really he could have done there.
My whole thing is just that Dale was showing his nose pretty early, so it was kind of obvious that he was going to go for it. It's just, but again, it was still not there. Like, the move was not on, so I agree with you in that sense.
But here we go. Green flag back out in the air. Bobby Mantle up through the gears. Stephen Knight with a really good start, almost is able to actually stay side by side into turn 1. I'll tell you what, that caution helped out with Stephen Hayes. He's now up to 3rd. Big run. Oh, and there goes another driver getting turned by Dale Brooks. Caution flag is back out again. We got Dale, more like Dale Earnhardt out here at Bristol. He is rattling cages, as our producer just said. Goodness gracious, that is the 2nd caution based on someone getting turned.
God bless. I mean, Dale just drives it into the corner so much deeper than every single driver out here. I mean, we're going to see he just drives it in crazy deep into turn 3, and I was noticing it before the first accident. I mean, he is a whole car length back from Stephen Hayes. Stephen does not lose any ground to the second place driver, right? He entered at the exact same speed as the driver in front of him, but Dale comes in from about a car length back, and he still holds the bottom lane. So, like, I mean, he's entering the corner good. I think it's probably burning the right front tire off if he wasn't getting into people and we had a long green flag run. He would definitely be burning the absolute hell out of that right front tire. But I mean, he's still holding his lane whenever he does it. It's from too far back.
Yeah, these guys just can't predict that run's coming like that. You know, it's just, and he's driving this track a lot differently, like you said, than everybody else is, and I think that's just leading to some sort of conflict out on the track. So it's unfortunate to see that Stephen Hayes had worked his way up into the top 5, and now he's going to be all the way back in last. Definitely going to be a lot of drivers not going to be sending Christmas cards to the Brooks family, that's for sure. But man, wow, this has definitely turned out to be a little bit more of a little bit more of a physical race than I kind of expected it to be. I kind of, like you said, I thought it was going to be a lot more green than it has been. Of course, you've already seen multiple cautions, and we're only on lap 30.
Yeah, a little early for all the cautions. With only 14 drivers in the field, we've already got, what, 4?
And also, we see Joshua Slade, though. We saw he spun out earlier. He's now up to 4th. Big moves for him. So definitely a big recovery there for that driver. And it's going to be good for Chad McGinley, these cautions coming out as well, because he's going to be able to get some of that damage repaired. Stephen Hayes is on pit road right now getting repairs done. So, you know, these cautions kind of help these guys get a little bit of that those repairs completed. Because the thing about it, you don't have a whole lot of time at Bristol anyway to get damage repaired, considering the pace laps are not very long either.
Yeah, and because of that, Stephen Hayes actually just went a lap down getting damage repair. He's still on pit road. So unfortunate for Heck, he's still down in the pit box. I don't know if he's going to come out or not, because they're lined up 2 by 2 to go take the green flag this time by, and Hayes is still in his pit box.
I mean, he might have had more significant damage than I think we're seeing. So we'll have to wait and see. Of course, this damage model on the truck has become a lot more, I'd say, realistic, where you can break the toe link now. As we see the pace truck or car down pit road, green flag back out in the air. Bobby Mansell with another good restart. He jumps up in front of Stephen Knight. Now, if I was in Stephen Knight's shoes and I saw Dale Brooks coming, I'd be a little worried. Because, I mean, man, he done wrecked 2 drivers. But here comes Joshua Slade. He's on the newer tires. It seems like those tires are helping him. But also keep in mind, we've been having a lot of cautions, so we talked about that. That was going to be a resource that you're going to have to manage if we continue to have cautions. I do believe there's a lap car out on the track, and I think that is Stephen Hayes.
Oh, man, LeBlanc is super loose coming out of turn number 4. I think he held on to it. I thought we were going to get another caution, though. I mean, he was unbelievably loose through the entirety of turns 3 and 4. And it looked like it was just all on his own. I don't think he got contact from anybody, but, man, he was crazy loose.
Taking a look back at it here, I think he was side by side with Ricky Hudgens. Let's see if he did get it. He was running the top. Yeah, just got, wow, really snappy on him. I think he probably overcorrected a little bit as well. That could have been a whole lot worse, though. I mean, because we've seen a lot of overcorrection accidents here as of late on iRacing that have led to massive damage, right? I mean, so good that it wasn't as bad as it could have been. I mean, he could have, snapped into the wall harder than he did. Of course, Bobby Mansell still in the lead. Stephen Knight, though, putting a lot of pressure here on him. And I think the reason that the pressure is coming from Knight right now is because of the pressure from Slade. Slade is desperately trying to work his way possibly to get to the lead as well, as they're still closing in on the lap car of Stephen Hayes.
Yeah, Joshua Slade is absolutely flying from the back of the pack now to battling side by side for second, coming off of turn number 2 on the inside of Stephen Knight. And they do have that lap car, Stephen Hayes, in front of him. I believe he put on 4 tires and got all his damage fixed, so he probably will not get lapped again. I don't believe. He's just waiting for a caution to come out, hopefully to get back on the lead lap. But Joshua Slade down to the inside in turns 1 and 2. Wraps the bottom really well. Doesn't quite clear Stephen Knight off the corner, but he clears himself. He was just barely clear in front of the 79. Made it work, made it stick, and now he's hunting down the leader.
You got to be careful when you're doing stuff like that. I could have easily ended up in another wreck there, but I think Knight kind of cut him a little bit of a break. Of course, Daniel Ott looking very fast as well. He's about a half a second back from Dale Brooks in that 62 machine. A lot of fast drivers unloading here at Bristol. Of course, they realize this is the playoffs, got to unload fast. But what does Bobby Mansell do? Does he give up the spot? I don't know. I mean, Slade's on a little bit newer tires, but then again, track position is very important here.
Yeah, I don't think he's just going to roll over for Slade, but with how Slade has come through the field, I think he's got to see that big green mean machine behind him and just think, man, I gotta make sure I don't get the Dale Brooks treatment at this point. Going down into turn number 3. I mean, Slade's just able to dive into the corner so much harder than everybody else right now because he does have a little bit fresher tires. Now he's looking to the inside of Bobby Mantle for the race lead, coming off a 2. Doesn't quite have the overlap going down to 3, but Bobby does a good job giving him the bottom lane, going down into the corner. Wraps the outside line pretty well, though, but they're still side by side going down into turn number 1. Joshua Slade is just inching a little bit closer every single corner to taking the lead outright.
Yeah, I think he's just been proving that he has got a substantial amount of pace in that race car. Oh, but I don't know if contact. Whoa. I don't know if pace is really going to help you when you're having some contact. I don't know what was going on there, if they were just kind of racing each other very hard, but you can tell Mansell does not want to give this position up, and you can see Slade's getting tight off the corners here. Would not be surprised to see more contact as these guys are just starting to race each other very, very hard.
Oh, contact again! 12 of Slade just gets into the door. Bobby Mantle on a caution comes out. That's going to save Stephen Hayes. He's going to get his lap back. Oh, it's Justin LeBlanc is on his side.
Oh, wow.
On the front stretch. Let's see if we can get that thing cranked up and going. Hopefully he doesn't have too much damage, but we're going to have, it's not very often you see somebody out on his side at Bristol Motor Speedway. They're going down to turn 3, dives it in. Down deep on the inside of Chad McGinley, just gets a little bit sideways, a little loose. Oh, cuts it back hard across the track. He must get hit, T-boned here somewhere from somebody for him to get back onto his side. Oh, man, Stephen Hayes comes flying through. I said Stephen was going to be saved, and then all the leaders come through as well. But that's going to completely kill Stephen Hayes' race. I mean, he's done at this point.
And, you know, he's got to be very upset because, you know, that's so. I think, to be honest, if Justin had just stayed where he was, Stephen would have gotten by. Because he sees him right there, and he just tries to hold his line and stay on the bottom. He would have gotten by LeBlanc if LeBlanc had just held the brake. But unfortunately, that's one of the things, you know, kind of one of the mortal sins, I'd say, on iRacing, not holding that brake and being just predictable on where you are going to stay. Because, you know, especially at a track like Bristol, the banking is so.
That's a teammate.
Yeah, that's even worse. I mean, in the banking here at this track is so significant that when you're not holding the brake, you're coming down the track. Like, you know, you have to hold the brake. And unfortunately, Stephen Hayes' night is really, like you said, it's going to be over. I would not be surprised to see his engine is gone. Looks like LeBlanc, I think, like you said, we were crab walking. So it's just, we're going to start to see some attrition start to set in here, it looks like.
It's a good thing the leaders weren't still side by side because we would have had a massive pile up that would have included all 5 of our race leaders right there at that point if Slade and Mansell were still side by side coming off of that corner, because there was really only room for 1 lane of cars to get through, and luckily they had single filed out right before they got to them. That would have been absolute hell only 50 laps into the race.
Yeah, there would have been a whole lot of drivers not in the race anymore, and it would have been it would have definitely changed the entire outlook of the event. That's for sure. As Mark Royce, I do believe, is our leader at the moment. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think he stayed out. He has pitted twice in this race, so I'm not sure exactly. I don't think he pitted in that last pit stop, or the last yellow flag, I should say. But we're on lap number 50 here. We just saw a big accident there with Justin LeBlanc, of course, spinning out. Now that's not, you know, yeah, of course, spinning out is bad, but when, you know, when you have to be aware of the racetrack around you after the spin out, he could have mitigated that, the result, you know, the damage that Stephen Hayes got out of that. I'm sure they're going to be having a long conversation, but of course, that did take Stephen Hayes out of the race, and of course, Stephen Hayes is a playoff driver, which is what really is heartbreaking. This is going to have big implications as we go into Texas next week.
Yeah, we can just insert the Darrell Waltrip voiceover of, "Oh, that's a teammate." Very unfortunate as he just rolled down the banking and just I mean, just I don't know. That's tough because I feel like he had a lot of time to roll down the hill before that, right? If he would have just rolled down the hill immediately, he would have gotten out of the way. We probably wouldn't have even had a caution. All would have been good, but he just kind of sat in the middle of the racetrack for a litle bit too long and then decided to do it right as Stephen Hayes was coming around the corner. So just kind of unfortunate timing.
100%. But here comes the pace car, going to be heading down pit road as we get ready to get this thing back underway. Of course, Mark Royce, a little bit of an unknown quantity up here in the lead. We'll have to see how he does. Michael Hayes, though, last week's winner, we'll see what he's able to do. Very good start from Mark Royce up through the gears as he heads into turn 1 uncontested. Here comes Bobby Mantle, though, I think on the fresher tires. Big run. You can tell the fresh tires very important as he takes over second and passes Hayes like he's standing still.
That's the new tire versus old tire issue right there. I just think I don't really think that you need to save a set here. So I'm a little curious about Mark Royce and Michael Hayes' strategy at this point of the race. I just don't really think that it is really going to work for him at all. I just think it's a little bit too early to do anything like that. But we're watching Michael Hayes. I mean, he's dropping like a rock. But Mark Royce has held on to the P1 position relatively well for the first couple laps. But I got to think, as soon as Bobby Mantle and Stephen Knight get clear of him, he's just going to continue to drop like a rock, just like Michael Hayes has so far.
And lap time wise, though, I mean, Mark is not looking bad. I mean, 14.961 last time by. I mean, he's only about a half a tenth slower than Mantle here, but I think Mantle is going to definitely get by him eventually. But it shows, you know, Mark Royce, I think he must have been taking care of his equipment or something like that. Oh, he goes up high to somewhat block Mantle there. So Mantle, I think, is going to try to look to the inside. I don't know if Mark was specifically blocking him. I think he more than likely was like trying to move up and let him go.
Slade hard into the outside wall coming on at turn number 4. He might be a little hurt. He's still kind of wobbling through turns 1 and 2, losing a lot of positions. He was racing for the race lead not too long ago, but we're going to catch the replay right here. Come through turns 3 and 4. I'm not sure if he got to the outside of EJ Luna or if he just completely lost it coming out of the corner. Yep, he just did the same thing he did earlier in the event. Instead of spinning down to the inside, though, he just popped the outside wall with the right rear and then the right front. And I think that right front contact is going to be the problem. That could have knocked out the toe just a little bit, and that's going to make that race truck really, really tight.
Oh, we got Mark Royce into the outside wall as well, as he is now side by side with Bobby Mantle. Mantle trying to take the lead back here on lap 60. Can Mantle get the pass completed? I do believe he should be able to. You can see Royce fighting very hard on the top side. Now, Royce, this has been the line that he's been really comfortable running, but him getting into the wall is not a good sign here, as he has managed to, of course, you know, defend. Very awesome job, Royce, even despite the wall contact.
Yeah, I'm very surprised Mark Royce is able to, you know, hold it up here this well. I mean, he must have. I mean, did he pit on the pit stop beforehand and take on tires so they're really not that old? If that's the case, then I could see how he's holding on really well here. But nonetheless, it's still very impressive. He's on older tires than everybody else, and he's able to hold on to the lead from the guy that's dominated the race so far, Bobby Mantle, and he's actually gapped him by a little bit. Going down into turn number 3 and 4 here, we're just going to see a good run coming off of turn 4. Oh, man, well, he just gets in the wall, and that's going to kill that momentum that I was thinking he was going to have, but he's still holding on to the lead. It wasn't too heavy of contact, not going to put any damage on that truck, but it is going to take that lead back down to about half a tenth of a second.
Yeah, and just to clarify, he is about like 18 laps older tires than the rest of the drivers' course. But with the cautions the way they've been flying, though, I don't think that's too much wear on those tires, though, as Mantle tries to get back to the inside. Now, this has brought Dale Brooks back into the battle as well. He's up to 4th. He got by EJ Luna not too long ago. Brooks, we know how aggressive he is at Bristol. What can he do here? I mean, this is bringing him back into the fray. I don't know if adding him as a variable to this battle for the lead is necessarily going to be good. It's going to be somewhat of a ignition source, if you will.
Yeah, he definitely could, but Bobby Mantle finally gets by Mark Royce. I think Mark Royce is finally starting to feel the pressure on that right front tire. Dale Brooks pulls right in front of him for that P3 spot. I think Dale's going to complete the move here going down into turn 3, and he does. And now EJ Luna to the inside of Mark Royce, but he doesn't do a great job through the corner. Kind of stacks up Joshua Slade a little bit, and that's going to allow the 62 of Daniel Ott to get to the outside of Slade.
Yeah, EJ Luna trying to get clear of Mark Royce. I do believe up to the 4th position. You can just tell how difficult it is to pass when you're side by side. It slows you down significantly at this racetrack, but it looks like Joshua Slade is going to successfully get the pass complete. Not yet. Of course, we do got to keep in mind he does have some damage from hitting the wall a little bit earlier. Bobby Mantle out front with a half a second gap on Stephen Knight. So far has been pretty much the Bobby Mantle show. Of course, Stephen Knight has been very fast as well. I've loved what we've seen here in the playoffs from that driver. Daniel Ott gets clear of Royce. Up to now 6th place.
I think it's interesting towards the middle part of the year, whenever I first jumped onto the broadcast booth with you guys for the Global Racing Truck Series League. Bobby Mantle, you know, we saw he was really good at the road course of Mid-Ohio running P2. to Austin McGill whenever McGill looked like he was just taking the series by storm. But then he just kind of had a couple off weeks, couple incidents in a couple other races. I don't think he had the best race at New Hampshire the week after his P2 finish. But all of a sudden, the last 4 or 5 weeks, that At the Top team has been the fastest team consistently in the entire series. Kansas was a little bit of a step back, you could say, because they got beat by Slade and by Michael Hayes. But they really dominated the first half of that race, and they have dominated a lot of other races in the last month or so. So it's very interesting to see. Unfortunately, one of their guys got taken out a little bit earlier, Chad McGinley, but he's doing a decent job kind of recovering back up to the 8th position. But wow, the At the Top guys of Bobby Mantle, Stephen Knight, and Chad McGinley have just found a ridiculous amount of speed over the course of the last month.
Yeah, no, you're definitely exactly right. I mean, whatever they've been putting under the hood, it's definitely been working out for them, as we see, of course, Ricky Hudgens battling Douglas with Chad McGinley. Now, McGinley, of course, was involved in a crash early in the race, had some significant front and back damage, I do believe. So he's trying to recover, trying to get his way back up into a position to possibly get back up to get some points here. He entered tonight's race as the points leader. We're now 76 laps into the show here. Of course, Mantle's still in the lead overnight, and just really awesome job for those drivers. Now, Dale Brooks, though, what is he going to be willing to do? As I do believe we just saw Joshua Slade actually take the 4th place position from EJ Luna. Now, kind of surprising. We saw that contact with the wall from Slade. I'm surprised he's looking this fast right now. It might have even helped him.
Yeah, we might need to get a look at that right front suspension to see if it actually did any damage to it, because I thought he hit the wall easily hard enough to get some right front damage, but we might need to get a decent camera view of that right front. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like there's a scratch on that thing, and we saw him absolutely pound the wall with the right front fender. So you can see a little bit of a scrape on the Ghost logo there on the right rear quarter panel, but I mean, what's a little scrape going to do on the right rear quarter panel at Bristol? It ain't going to do shit. So the right front is really what matters, and it doesn't really seem to be affecting him whatsoever. It doesn't look like he has any damage on the right front of that vehicle.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely looks fairly clean, and that's kind of surprising. So he must have hit it fairly flat, I'd say. You know, not enough to really hit the suspension or anything like that. So that's good. Chad McGinley battling, of course, with Ricky Hudgens for that 7th place position at the moment. And of course, can McGinley get the pass completed? And I think he has, and he is now going to be up to 7th place. While we have a little bit of a lull here in the action, we're going to take a brief step away, pay some attention to our sponsors. We appreciate you joining us here on Grip Vision's coverage of the Global Racing Truck Series at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Grid Vision's coverage of Bristol Motor Speedway with the Global Racing Truck Series. Of course, my name's Brian Britt. I have Austin Edstrom as my co-commentator. Austin Derbyshire down behind the cameras. Of course, we just saw Dale Brooks take over second place from Stephen Knight. Joshua Slade's right there as well, waiting in the wings. Brooks has been really, really fast. We are seeing a ton of tire wear, though, right now. 15.5, 15.6, 15.7s, even 16-second laps. Looks like the top guys might be starting to fall off tire-wise. I don't know, maybe just Stephen Knight.
Yeah, I think that Bobby Mantle has just done the best job saving tires through the field, though. You did mention that, top guys. I think Stephen Knight's just struggling a little bit at this point because it's not like anybody else is actually picking up time on Bobby Mantle. Oh, and the caution comes out, so who cares about the tire wear at this point?
And it looks like I do believe that is Steve Gerber around. That is the, luckily I don't think anybody hit him there. So we'll have to see what happened there in that case. Of course, he's now one lap down, but a lot of drivers going to be popping down pit road for sure to get some tires here. As we see Mark Royce was down on the apron. They were 3 wide, and a lot of times 3 wide does not work at this racetrack. And I think, to be honest, I think that Steve Gerber got a little spooked. I think he saw Royce coming on the bottom 3 wide, and he just tried to give him extra space, and unfortunately, that space was finite. Ricky Hudgens was above him there.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you. Mark Royce on the new fresh rubber just coming through with a ton of speed. And yeah, Steve didn't really have to react too heavy, but he definitely got a little spooked there from Mark Royce coming down on the new tires and just kind of went up to the outside and got into Ricky Hudgens a little bit, but everybody is coming down pit road.
Yep, everybody coming down to get a set of tires. Can't really blame them. I mean, we saw a second of fall off on that last run, and that's pretty significant, especially at Bristol when the lap times are 15 seconds. We are at that halfway point here in just a moment. And Mantle has been the dominant figure thus far, but I feel like now we're going to see Dale Brooks possibly come into the fray a lot more. I think he's already been very, very fast. I think if Dale gets a position on Bobby, I think it's going to be hard to get that lead back from him.
I'd have to agree. Dale Brooks has been really good on the short run, and we've seen just how committed Bobby Mantle is to kind of saving tires. I mean, he's done a good job just because he's been in the front of the field and kind of had a little bit more of a chance to save tires. But wow, Joshua Slade coming out, I think he only took 2 tires, taking the race lead off of pit road. That's going to throw a wrench into everything. Very big strategy call from Slade.
Yeah, I do not like that call at all. I mean, that is not the thing to do at a track like this. I mean, I don't know if they've recently I know iRacing has had updates recently, but I don't think they've made 2 tires viable at Bristol. I don't think that's something that I know you can do that at tracks like Michigan, maybe a mile and a half in the next gen, not in the truck, right? I mean, the truck is definitely not one you really take 2 tires, just considering one set on one side is going to be worn out. Oh, looks like he might be coming back down pit road to take that second set. So this is interesting here, splitting the stops.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I was hoping we got to, or we were going to get to figure it out if it was viable, but it was 50 laps on tires. I mean, if it was 15, 20, 25, I could maybe see it working and him be able to hold on to that position at least for a handful of laps. But with 100 to go and you just ran a 50 lap run, it would have been a little tough.
Yeah, for sure. No, I definitely agree. It would have been quite tough. Of course, you see Mark Royce at the front of the field right now. He's actually getting ready to get the wave round. He's 2 laps down at the moment. As we see Slade, of course, coming back down pit road to get that other side. It might have just been a mistake on his part, in working through the black boxes, unchecking tires on accident or something like that. Pace car lights, I do believe, have gone out. We're getting ready to get this thing back underway. Dale Brooks going to be starting up on the top side. This is the first time I do believe he started in second place. So this is going to be interesting. But the thing about it, though, I know you've even talked about this in your A-Open races you've done this week. Starting on that top on the outside row in second is probably the worst place you can start from. And we're going to get to probably see that here in a moment as the green flag comes out once again. And Dale Brooks not able to get the best start. And Stephen Knight gets a really good launch. And I would not be surprised to see Knight and, of course, Mantle in the same disco. Oh, Knight gets loose down into the inside wall. He saves it. Didn't have massive contact, but that is definitely going to affect his race significantly. Wow.
Yeah, and we had just mentioned that second place starting spot is not the place you really want to be. Stephen Knight had completely cleared Dale Brooks going through turns 1 and 2, but just had a little bit too much wheel input coming off the corner whenever the banking fell away, and he just lost it coming out of the corner and gave that P2 spot back to Dale Brooks. Bobby Mantle's built up almost a 6/10 of a second lead now because of that little mishap, and he's just kind of setting sail at this point. But we're going to watch coming on the restart past the start-finish line there, going down to turn 1 and 2. We see Stephen Knight just get a really good run through the middle of the corner. He had completely cleared Dale Brooks. Didn't use all the racetrack, even though he's completely cleared. And I think that, oh man, that got country there. I think that's where he got really sketchy coming out the corner, because if he would have just unwound that wheel and gone to the wall like he easily could have, he doesn't spin out there 100%. So just kind of unfortunate. I think he made a little bit of a mental error trying to give Dale Brooks room that he really didn't deserve, if I'm being honest, and he just kind of spun himself out.
Yeah, I mean, and Brooks wasn't there, like you said. I mean, I think a lot of ways he probably got a little bit greedy as well. So we see a big moment there from Daniel Ott. Very loose. Oh, there goes Slade. He's going to go sideways. No caution, though. He saves it. As Slade, of course, had taken a 2-tire stop and then took the second set. Well, apparently something not agreeing with him on those tires, as he's going to be having to try to hold off Steve Gerber. Of course, just not racing for position. Also, Michael Hayes now up to 5th. Now, keep in mind, Michael Hayes won last week at Kansas. Can he go back-to-back? Of course, he hasn't been much of a factor here today, but you never can write off any of those Lone Star guys.
Yeah, he's doing a decent job picking his way back through the field, but I don't know. We just haven't seen the pace from Michael Hayes here tonight. Kind of unfortunate because he was so just crazy fast last week, and but still, you know, if he can get a top 5. I know that we have 4 race rounds here in the playoffs, so him getting 2 back-to-back top 5 finishes, if he can hold on to this right here for the next 88 laps. He won't be locked into the next round because there's not a win in your end, but he will be sitting really, really good on points going forward.
Yeah, that's a big thing too as well, you know, that we haven't really discussed in this race. I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week at Kansas, that this is a points-based thing. There's no win in your end. So, you know, even if you win a race, but if you have 3 bad ones after that, that could end up with you sitting on the outside of the cut line either way. So, you know, that's one difference that we have here in this truck series. Bobby Mansell out to about a 7/10 of a second lead. But Dale Brooks is coming. Last time by, he was a little over a 10th faster than him. Of course, EJ Luna, very good race for him. He's in 3rd place. He's been having, I think, low-key, one of his best seasons I've seen that 24 have.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job. He did get that win about a month ago at Michigan. Man, I just heard somebody clobber the wall. I don't know quite where that was, but yeah, he had a good win at Michigan on a green-white checkered, and he's just been relatively consistent here the last few weeks. So EJ Luna, top runner of the Lone Star trucks tonight, so doing a really good job there.
For sure, and I know in seasons past, he's always had bad luck or has put himself in bad positions, but he just seems like he's been really able to take care of his stuff. Very good recovery as well from Chad McGinley. He's in, of course, that 4th place position. He's in the at the top camp, so he should be rocking the same type of equipment as Bobby Mantle, but of course he still does have some rear end damage. You can see that right on that rear end as he's now being challenged by Michael Hayes for 5th.
Yeah, that rear end's definitely hurting him there, and actually allowing Michael Hayes to get to his inside. I think if Chad McGinley didn't have any damage, he'd be right up there with Bobby Mansell, running 1-2. I mean, we've just seen how good the at-the-top guys have been, and they're all relatively close most of the time in terms of speed. So typically whenever one of them's running first, the rest of them are running in the top 5, and that was what was happening earlier before Chad McGinley got taken out, and then Stephen Knight made a big mistake on that last restart. So I think if he didn't have the damage, he'd be right up there challenging Bobby Mantle for the race lead at this point.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right. As we come to now 80 laps to go, Chad McGinley trying to hold off Michael Hayes. Michael Hayes wrapping it right around the bottom, but it's just so difficult to pass when you have a guy on the top. You know, Chad is just fast enough to be a little bit aggravating, I'm sure, to Michael Hayes right now, and this is allowing Daniel Ott as well to kind of close in. Stephen Knight, of course, who had an issue a little bit earlier, you know, spun from 2nd place. Of course, he's back up to 7th, so nice recovery for him. He's about a 2nd back from Ott right now.
Yeah, Stephen Knight doing a good job. I mean, he's probably got a little bit of left front damage, left side damage, but probably not too egregious. He didn't kill the inside wall, but he definitely did get into it with a decent amount of force. So I imagine that's hurting him a little bit, but still, that top setup has been really good this week. So he's doing a good job, just kind of picking his way back through the field as much as he can, being up into 7th place, only 3.5 seconds off the race lead at this point.
And of course, after this race here, we have, I do believe, 2 more races in this round, which I do believe is Texas and then Talladega. So definitely 2 racetracks that anything could possibly happen at. So a lot of drivers going to be definitely preparing themselves for sure. I know a lot of drivers in this series specifically probably have been circling it on the calendars, Talladega. I mean, that's going to be a crazy one. I know you're circling that one on your calendar as well. I think you're not even going to be here with us on that Sunday.
I won't be here the next 2 Sundays. I've got too much going on in the real world. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one, just so that I can take a little break, step away, and go race, or not race. Man, I wish.
Oh, you're in the top. You're racing in the Cup Series.
That's on the bucket. Yeah. That's on the bucket list. Maybe I'll drive a truck there one year. Give me about a decade. Maybe you'll see my name in the truck.
Yeah, decade. No, $50,000.
No, but I'll be sitting in the stands watching real life trucks or cars go around. I won't be watching the truck race, but that'll be really interesting. Really looking forward to that. Love going to Talladega. I've been there probably 17 times at this point. Somewhere around that number. I keep track of it in my phone, but I don't know how many for sure. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Unfortunate that I will be missing the global race that weekend, because I'm sure Talladega is going to put on a hell of a show for these drivers. But I would rather watch real life race cars, unfortunately.
Nobody blames you. I'm kind of the same way with Darlington, though. I mean, you've been there so many times. I've been probably the same amount of times as Darlington, about dozens and dozens, as we see battle going on right now for 4th place. Chad McGinley battling with Michael Hayes as well. I do believe we see a battle that's a couple laps down as Mark Royce and Steve Gerber exchange positions. Also, Joshua Slade is trying to work his way forward. Of course, he had a big moment a little bit ago. He just caught up, I do believe, to Stephen Knight, trying to fight for that 7th spot.
Yeah, Knight's starting to struggle there, probably with some left front damage on that machine, and Slade has just kind of been reeling them in the last couple laps. Looking to the bottom of here on 1 and 2, trying to get a good exit off, or sorry, in 3 and 4, trying to get a good exit off. He's definitely a little bit faster than Stephen Knight. Being able to run the bottom this late in the run and be faster than the car in front of you that's running the top is really a testament that you are faster than them, but it's just so hard to pass at this racetrack. I mean, you got to use absolutely all the racetrack that the outside guy gives you. Slade giving him a little bit wider of a berth coming off of 4 than maybe he needs to make this pass work. And we've just seen how fast Slade has been, but he's had a couple incidents, gotten in the wall a couple times, so he might be hurting a little bit from the damage. And we saw that weird tire debacle on pit road with him. I'm not quite sure what was going on there, and he just hasn't been able to recover.
No, 100%. It could have been some type of glitch. I don't know. We'll have to, if we get a chance to ask him, we'll definitely ask him. But, of course, he is hounding Stephen Knight right now. And both of these drivers are catching up to Daniel Ott. So Daniel Ott's starting to really struggle as well in that 62. I think he's got really good short-run pace. Just does not seem to have the long run here, as Bobby Mantello has pulled away over a second on Dale Brooks now. He has steadily been the fastest car on the racetrack. And he's got to love it. That 89 has got to be just absolutely ecstatic with the performance he's putting on here. I mean, and the thing is about it, Austin, we saw earlier in the season, Bobby had a lot of chances to win races, but just never really sealed the deal in a lot of ways, and just ran second, ran really good, made mistakes, you know what I mean? And now it seems like he is dialed in.
Yeah, Mid-Ohio was my first race that I got to call, and that's where he ran second. And I just remember in that broadcast, I had mentioned just how smooth he was, right? He just wasn't really killing his stuff, and he was just kind of biding his time, but still running really fast lap times. And that's kind of what we're seeing right here. He's not putting a ton of wheel on it, even in the bottom of 3 and 4, where you kind of have to put a lot of wheel into it. But he's not absolutely cranking the hell out of that wheel, and he's just being really, really even on the throttle, not going too hard, just really using the banking really well. You saw he entered the corner really low in turn 3. That's just because he's using the banking to turn the car. You don't want to go against the banking. If you turn it a little bit earlier, you get into the banking a little bit earlier, and it allows the car to rotate a little bit more here. That's what we're seeing from Bobby Mantle here, going down to turn 3. See, he shallows up the entry, which sounds a little counterproductive. You probably wouldn't want to shallow up the entry on a road course where you got no banking. You can't use any banking to help turn the car. But a track like Bristol, where you got 30-something degrees of banking, you really just throw the thing down into the corner as soon as you can and allow the banking to turn your car more. And whenever he's running the bottom, he's doing a great job of doing that. Probably a little bit of a lesson for the guys that are behind him to kind of take from this race, the way that he's just kind of driving it down into the corner a little bit earlier than what you would expect.
And here he goes. He's going to be putting he put Mark Royce, I do believe, yet another lap down. We also have a battle that was going on. Joshua Slade just got clear of Daniel Ott and has moved up to the 6th place position. Also, Michael Hayes has still been pressuring Chad McGinley, but has not been able to get by him. McGinley has just been, I think I would say he's probably not at the top of favorite people list for Michael Hayes right now. And it's not because Chad's doing anything wrong. He's just is really very awesome at defending this position. I mean, you see Michael works his way up to Chad and just cannot pass him. I mean, I think a lot of this comes down to as well the tire wear. And you know, as the tires wear, it just becomes to where these trucks are not as maneuverable, and you can't make passes when you can't maneuver.
Yeah, you're not kidding. And you do get that dose of dirty air from the car in front of you if you just follow their line exactly. So it's just kind of hard for Michael Hayes to actually close that gap and get all the way up to Chad McGinley's back bumper. So sometimes he tries to run the bottom to make the ground up, but you just got to slow down so much more in the center of the corner to be able to make it on the bottom. Oh man, sorry. The hot dogs I were eating earlier were not agreeing with me. But yeah, Michael Hayes, I mean, he's trying really hard, and it does get a little frustrating whenever you're behind the wheel and you just can't find the way past him, especially whenever you're stuck in that dirty air wake. I mean, you do get super, super frustrated, and you start getting mad at the guy, even though they're, like you mentioned, he's not doing anything wrong. Chad's running his own race, not doing anything egregious, and he's actually starting to pull away from Hayes here a little bit.
Yeah, I think, you know, you could be falling victim to that carrot on a stick. The more that you try as well to, you know, pass that guy, you kind of fall into that pit, that trap, if you will. You know, the more that you, you know, aggressively try to get past, the more you burn those tires up. As you see, I do believe Mark Royce ahead of these guys in the wall. We are pretty far into this run. Tire wear is very much a factor right now. A second of fall off from a lot of these drivers. Heck, I mean, Bobby Mansell just hit a 15.9, so I'm not sure exactly why that is, but you can tell a lot of these drivers are struggling. I mean, that's pretty much a normal lap time we're seeing right now. And before in this race, earlier in this race, we saw 15 high 15-second laps. That's when the caution kind of started to be a lot more probable. You know, especially these guys starting to get probably a little bit more frustrated as well. The short track tempers are going to start to flare a little bit more as these guys start to get a little bit more physically, you know, I'd say drained as well. So this is kind of no man's land in a lot of ways. Austin, we haven't seen runs this long before.
Yeah, we did have just about this long of a run on the run prior to this one, but this one's starting to inch past it just a little bit. Field is strung out pretty well. We're not seeing any like super tight battles anywhere throughout the field, so it's probably as good of time as any to take our final commercial break of the evening before the end of the race.
I think you're right. That's a great idea. We'll take a brief step away. We'll pay some attention to our sponsors. We'll be right back here on Grid Vision.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Grid Vision's presentation of the Global Racing Truck Series race at Bristol Motor Speedway. Of course, we're in the second round, or the second race of round one of the playoffs. Bobby Mantle has been out front essentially all race long, and definitely a fantastic performance so far from him. Seems like he's got the whole package, long run, short run, you name it. Bobby's got it, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby is just putting on an absolute clinic, but Dale Brooks has done a good job holding it at about a 2-second gap. It's been stuck at about 2 seconds for the last 30 laps, so really good job from Dale Brooks just to be able to hold on. I feel like the last month or so, we've just seen Dale Brooks be really, really good on the short run and then just absolutely fall off a cliff. Oh man, he's a little bit loose as I was talking about that. That would have been a crazy announcer jinx. But we've seen that he's been pretty mid on the long run. But tonight, I mean, he's holding on with the best of the best on the long run. It's just unfortunate that he lost just a little bit too much ground the first few laps after the restart and just hasn't been able to recover from that. But still, he's got 5-second gap on P3 of Chad McGinley. So really, really good job from Dale Brooks here to be able to hold the lead or hold the leader so close.
Yeah, and gotta, you mentioned Chad McGinley as well. Gotta really give him props. I mean, to have that rear end damage like he's got, and to have had kind of the trials that he's gone through in this race. To be in P3, very good day. I would not be surprised to see him exit this race with the points lead if he finishes where he is. I see Ricky Hudgens, I do believe, dropping down to pit road right now. He, of course, is in 10th, 3 laps down. We have 7 drivers that are still on the lead lap. I don't know if he's calling it quits. But for the most part, I think everybody's good on fuel. I think the most thing these guys are worried about probably is tires. I did talk to some guys, during the week that were running the C Open, in officials, and tire wear was so significant that they did say that, after a 70, 80 lap run, they were down to 20-something%, 40-something%. So we're at that 70 lap mark, now. We just crossed it here recently. So do we see tire failures? I think that could be a possibility depending on the setup these guys got underneath their hoods.
I mean, I guess we could see somebody that's really murdered the right front tire. I don't think we're going to see it from a guy like Bobby Mantle or Dale Brooks. And also, Dale Brooks is still charging right now. He's actually cut down the lead half a second the last couple laps. And now Bobby Mantle's stuck behind a lap truck of Steve Gerber. I mean, Dale Brooks is going to be able to have a chance here to maybe run down Bobby Mantle over the last 25 laps of this race. I mean, he is absolutely flying.
Also, Stephen Knight has decided to come to pit road. Why would he come to pit road? This is my question. Pitting from, I do believe, the lead lap, the 79 has come to pit road. So
he might have killed his right front, like you were mentioning.
Could have had a tire failure himself. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. So keep an eye on that. See, these guys are really at that plateau point. I think when it comes to the tire wear, that I'm sure that a lot of these guys are probably getting warnings in their ears from their spotters. A lot of times when you're at that 50% mark, you get that warning. As we're looking at his suspension.
I'm not smart enough to know what any of that meant.
I don't know. Yes, I'm not able to read the suspension like a soothsayer. But yeah, you see him coming to pit road right there. It looks like that was a fairly. I think that was a scheduled stop. He's still on pit road though. He's still on pit road, so I'm not sure why. Definitely, I think he's given up a good position. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. But, of course, Bobby Mantle still in the lead. 1.5 seconds back to Dale Brooks. Brooks, like you said, was charging. we're seeing a lot of lap traffic now be a big thing here. Of course, Knight has come off pit road with the fresh tires now, and he's right behind his teammate of Mantle as they're verging on possibly going through wide.
Man, look at the tire difference. Holy cow, Stephen Knight just, I mean, this is a great visual representation of how much tires mean. I mean, look at Stephen Knight through the middle of that corner, just absolutely gapped the hell
Oh, and
out of
Mantle into the
Mantle against the
wall.
wall.
Yeah, Mantle into the wall there. You could just tell. I mean, that's got to be very frustrating for Mantle to be seeing that. Like, wow, these guys are just pulling away on me. But it doesn't, you know, of course, they're not going to be able to make up that many laps in that quick succession. As, of course, Daniel Ott recently as well has just went a lap down. As Brooks is trying to come through that same traffic that Mantle was just coming through.
Yeah, no, this is the tough part for Dale Brooks. I mean, he sees Bobby Mantle just out of his windshield a second and a half up the road, but it's just probably going to be too little too late. I mean, whenever they're both in clean air, he started losing a little bit of time, and then he'll start gaining a little bit of time. So it's just, I really don't know who's faster at this point of the race, but what matters is that Bobby Mantle has a 1.5 second gap, unless he makes a big mistake coming out of the corner, which we did see him hit the wall not too long ago. If he makes one or two more of those errors like that, I could see Dale Brooks squeaking his way back into this fight for the win. But with coming to 15 to go, he is running out of time.
Oh, and AJ Luna hits the wall right near Mantle. Mantle, of course, is able to luckily get by, and that's going to put EJ Luna a lap down, leaving 5 drivers on the lead lap right now. Bobby Mantle is acting like Pac-Man right now, taking the, of course, taking all these guys and putting them a lap down. But that's definitely an unlucky thing there. If Mantle, or it could have been a lot worse, I'd say, if EJ had hit the wall and came down into Mantle, that would have been a horror story for Mantle, considering he's led almost this entire race to have something like that happen. Now that Brooks has, I say, lost a lot of time to Mantle.
We need to get a replay of Dale Brooks on lap 186 coming out of turn number 2, going into turn 3. That's what happened to where he lost another second and a half on the race lead and basically closes up for Bobby Mantle. If we can get a replay of that, it was lap 186. Maybe it's too far back, so we're not going to see it, but he just got crazy loose going down into turn number 3. Did a good job keeping the thing straight, though, but it unfortunately has sealed his fate of probably finishing in second place.
And he's still struggling. I mean, you could tell it's not over. I don't think it's over for Brooks yet. I mean, I think that he's still having those loose conditions. You can see that wiggle. When you have that happen once, it's going to happen again, especially, and that might even be a sign that tire failure is, kind of happening as well for that driver. I mean, these guys are almost 80-something laps into their run right now. 91, to be completely honest. 91, almost 100 laps on these tires right now. I mean, we don't see that kind of run in the next gen a lot of times. I mean, that's a crazy amount of time to have on these tires.
That's a ton of laps, and we're seeing it from the likes of Dale Brooks with how bad he's been struggling the last couple laps. I mean, he was doing everything he could just to hold on to the 2-second gap to Bobby Mantle. Just one mistake, and all that's out the window, and Chad McGinley's actually starting to run him down pretty good for this P2 spot. They had a little bit of history earlier in the race where Dale got into Chad McGinley, sent him for a ride, so it'd be interesting to see if Chad McGinley can get up to the bumper of Dale Brooks. Does he give him the bumper, or does he pass him clean if he has enough time? Coming to 7 laps to go with a second gap, I don't know if it's possible, but Dale Brooks has a ton of lap traffic stuck right in front of him.
Oh, yeah, he definitely does. And the thing about it is, even if he does, you can't pass someone clean, I don't think, at this point.
Oh, Dale Brooks gets
there goes Brooks. Get turned into the outside wall, and that is going to bring a caution out. Late race caution. Bobby Mantle's probably dejected, and I'm sure everybody is going to be coming down pit road after a 90-something lap run. Dale Brooks gets turned into the outside wall. I think that was more on Brooks probably being on such old tires and clearing himself. I mean, you can't help but get tight when your tires are this old. Right there, he just... I don't know if that, it kind of looked like they met in the middle.
The first bit of contact was actually net code, and then it turned Brooks up above into the outer lane. He had actually given enough space to the 62 of Daniel Ott. It was just enough. It was barely enough, but the first bit of contact we're going to see here in slow motion, at least on my end, it was net code. You see they don't actually make contact, but you can see the car get sideways and then turn them up the hill. So they were actually about a foot apart whenever they made air contact. And it just turned Dale Brooks into the outside wall and dropped him a couple of positions.
And this is going to put a big question mark on Bobby Mantle's chances to win this race.
It actually did not cost Dale Brooks at all. It gave him his position back. So he's still in P2.
And he also gets a fresh set of tires. So, I mean, this could be a good thing for Dale Brooks.
Does anybody take 2? Do you think anybody takes 2 at this point to get
After
the lead?
a 90-something lap run?
It'll be 2 or 3 laps. Who cares? If you get the lead and you get the jump.
Austin, if you want to do that.
I would. I would take 2. Let's see. We're going to have to see. Anybody take 2? Dale Brooks taking the right sides right now. See if he drops and goes or if he's going to take 4. It looks like he's taking 4. So we're not going to see that, unfortunately. I really wanted to see it, man. I wanted to see somebody go crazy and take the 2 tires, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But we are going to get a nice little green, white checkered run to the finish here.
Yeah, this is definitely, I'm sure, not what a lot of these drivers were expecting. I think some drivers probably just got their prayers answered, but Bobby Mantle just definitely did not. I mean, he had quite a gap back to Dale Brooks, and looks like he was going to, make his way to the end. Now, of course, these guys probably got incredibly used to driving on the old tires. This could as well cause an issue. I mean, when you get used to driving on old tires and you get a fresh set on, a lot of times you don't know how to act.
That's a great point. Sometimes I drive way under the limit after I put on a new set of tires just because I'm so used to having to take care of my stuff. And then you get onto a fresh set of rubber with a green, white checkered or just a handful of laps left, and you're just not driving to 100%, even though the truck can take way more than what you were just giving it. So that's a great point. Does Bobby Mantle maybe fall victim to that and kind of give Dale Brooks an opening? But also, we've mentioned earlier, that P2 spot is so difficult to start from. And the driver in P3 still has that rear end damage of Chad McGinley. So I'm still kind of a Bobby Mantle fan in this one. I think that he's going to be the one that pulls the checkered flag out from the flag stand here today. I just think that he's going to get a good enough start here and be able to wrap the bottom of 1 and 2 just about full throttle and be able to pull out a good enough gap on Dale Brooks. But the problem is Dale Brooks has shown that he's going to drive it in deep into turn number 3. I mean, he's dumped 2 people so far going into turn 3 just because he drives it in so much harder than everybody else into that corner. If Dale can get to the inside of Bobby Mantle going into turn number 3 down the backstretch with 2 laps to go, I really think he's going to absolutely throw it in there.
No, I think you're right. I think he's definitely shown that he's willing to do about anything to probably get back to victory lane here. So we'll have to see how that all kind of plays out. Pace car getting ready to take that left turn down pit road as we start green, white checkered number 1. Mantle going to enter the Geico restart zone. Green flag is out. Dale Brooks not having a good start at all. Chad McGinley able to secure second place for now. Brooks gets close to the rear and he turns McGinley into the inside wall. Front end is gone off of that race truck. And that is going to bring the caution flag back out onto the racetrack as we see Dale Brooks gets into the rear end of the 28. And I'm wondering, you see the 28, he clearly got clear of Dale Brooks, came up into the line that Brooks was running in. He was clear, but Brooks had a much better run and unfortunately just gets into the rear end of McGinley and just absolutely kills him as we take another look at it.
This is a weird one because McGinley had cleared him. That's so strange, and I hate. So
it looked like McGinley got loose as he was going into that lane.
It looks bad on Dale Brooks because he just drove into the back of Chad McGinley, and he had already wrecked McGinley earlier in the race. But I've got to be honest, whenever you're coming off the corner like that, you have to be more decisive than McGinley was there. You either got to take the lane or you got to leave it. And he kind of took it and then was giving it back. And if he just takes the lane, Dale hits him flush down the backstretch. No harm, no foul. They both stay straight. If McGinley just holds the bottom line, then Dale just has the run and they go side by side into 3. But McGinley kind of chose both, and that's just one thing you can't really do. And I hate to put the blame on McGinley because, I mean, he's the one that got junked. He's the one that got taken out, and it's by the same driver that wrecked him earlier. But you just got to be a little bit more decisive than that coming off the corner, I feel like. And it was just so close, right? He had just barely cleared Dale, so I get what he was going for. It was kind of a nice move to try to give the lane to him at that point, but it just, I don't know. Like I said, you just have to be a little bit more decisive in your decision making at that point.
Yeah, that's a heartbreaker there for sure. And I think he might have even got a little bit loose when he was changing lanes to go up in front of to Brooks. So I don't definitely put that completely on Dale. I definitely think that Brooks was just trying to get all he could, and unfortunately McGinley, like you said, just not being decisive. When you're out here running around this track, I mean, it's 15-second laps. You have to, you have split-second decisions to make, and I think Chad kind of was in between two decisions there.
Yeah, and going back to the first incident, I had said Chad could have done something to avoid it, but it was all Dale's fault. And I still go by that, right? I think Chad could have ran the outside to just make sure that the accident didn't happen. But ultimately, Dale overcooked the corner and popped him in the left rear on the first accident. But that one, I find it hard to just put all the fault on Dale because, like I said, if Chad just takes the outside line, then Dale just pops him straight in the back of the bumper and nobody gets hurt and they just get a good little boost down the backstretch. But because he kind of picked two lanes, it just wasn't going to work out. It just sucks to see him get such a he got such a short end of the deal there. I mean, it's just really, really tough, and it feels bad because it's the second time that he spun off of the bumper of the 32.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll tell you what, that's good for us up here in the booth, though, bro. I mean, I know that's going to create a lot of animosity, I'm assuming, between Dale Brooks and the rest of the, at the top guys. But it's great for us. It's definitely sowing some seeds of drama, that's for sure. As, of course, pace car lights are out. We're getting ready to get this thing back underway. Of course, Mantle is going to be leading us. And I even saw while they were pacing there, I think Mantle's kind of pinching Dale up a little bit. I think he's not happy with him either. They're on the same team. You got to think McGinley and Mantle are on the same team. It's all about perspective, right, Austin? As we see the pace car down pit road. Here comes the green flag, and it's back out. Mantle, really good start.
Yeah, Dale Brooks just is not getting good starts on the outside line there from P2. It's hard to do. Michael Hayes now looking to the bottom. He's been absolutely nowhere all day, and now he's fighting for the inside for the P2 spot. Can he follow up his win last week with a second place, trying to take the bottom from Dale Brooks? But Bobby Mantle is pulling away from the race lead as they take the white flag.
White flag is out. You see Joshua Slade trying to make something happen as well on Michael Hayes. You can see Hayes is getting incredibly tight right now as Mantle is in control, side by side for that third spot. It looks like Slade almost gets there. Slade and Hayes wreck each other as they cross the line to checkered flag. Bobby Mantle able to secure a dominant win here at Bristol Motor Speedway. What a awesome run there for the 89. I mean, he absolutely dominated this race. Those green-white checkers could have easily taken it away from him, but no, he was able to secure the dub. Wow, what a race for him, as he's going to come to celebrate this victory. He does a couple laps here, waving to the fans. He wants to make sure he finishes the race. I've seen so many drivers here recently have done the Mark Martin. They don't know if they finished the race or not. They pull off before the checker flag is flown, but Bobby Mantle makes sure that he runs all the laps. Now he's going to do a little bit of a burnout here for all the fans. Definitely got to be a lot of Canadian pride in that 89 right now. Of course, big pride as well for the At the Top Motorsports team. As the spot, they could have had they were fast enough, I think, to have a 1, 2, 3 possibly here tonight. Of course, unfortunately had some bad, accidents between some of the other drivers. Of course, Stephen Knight very much struggling in the later runs, but Mantle able to hold on, had the best short and long run speed.
That was the most deserving winner.
Yeah, definitely. He dominated the race, that's for sure. Very much a deserving winner. Let's take a look at the final result. Where's Bobby Mantle, our winner here tonight? Dale Brooks comes home in second place. Joshua Slade in third. Fourth place, Michael Hayes. Fifth, E.J. Luna. 6th, Daniel Ott. 7th, Steve Gerber. 8th, Mark Royce. 9th, Stephen Knight. And 10th, Chad McGinley. Got to be heartbroken.
Yep, 11th, Ricky Hudges second. 12th, Justin LeBlanc. 13th, Stephen Hayes. And 14th, Kenny Heath.
And that rounds out a look top to bottom through our top 14 or 14 car field. I do believe with that, we're going to take one more step away. When we'll be right back with our post-race show, we'll talk to our top 3 drivers. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Grid Vision's coverage of the Global Racing Truck Series here at Bristol Motor Speedway. We're going to be joined in the booth by our third-place finisher, and really awesome job. Of course, we saw Joshua Slade last week at Kansas. We'll put on a heck of a race with Michael Hayes. Of course, he does pretty much the same thing here today, but unfortunately it ends with a little bit more contact than I think he was expecting, but Slade still comes home in third. Josh, how are you feeling? Seems like y'all had a good truck tonight.
I'm feeling good. Kind of disappointed because I felt like I had a first place truck. I just kept on making mistakes once I got to the front. Kept on spinning out. So, yeah, just disappointed. But I mean, I'll settle for a top 3. But I mean, obviously a win would be way better.
100%. I mean, you definitely I think you had a race-winning truck too. I mean, I'm not sure how it was doing on the long run, but it definitely seemed like you had quite a bit of speed here at Bristol. Now, how did you prepare for this race here? I mean, this is definitely a tough track to tackle.
Really, I prepared throughout the week. You have to pretty much prepare yourself by finding like the driving lines throughout this track, because this is a multi-lane driving track. A lot of people prefer the high line, some people prefer the low line. So just finding out where your groove is and pretty much just try to run it to the fastest of your ability.
Well, you definitely did exactly that. Of course, next week we're going to be heading to Texas. Much different racetrack than Bristol. A lot of people don't have that one at their the top of their list of favorite tracks. Where do you rank when it comes to Texas?
I love Texas. Throughout the week, I always get a win on Texas. So definitely just work on a good set and perform better than I did next week. So, and then just give it the best I got.
All right, Josh. Well, definitely great performance for you. We definitely love to see you heating up here. I know that if you had made the playoffs, you definitely would be one of the ones that we will be talking a whole lot about. Of course, we're still talking about you, Josh. Who can we shout out after your third place finish?
Yeah, shout out all Lazy Lizards, Michael Lester, Josh Camphor, Ronald Holmes, and Ronald Harrington. Those guys really helped me out throughout the week with setups. And I just got to go out there and perform. And so hopefully I can bring away a win for Lazy Lizards coming up soon and put these playoff drivers on notice.
There you go. Try to take one of their wins away from them. Of course, they got to point their way in, so it doesn't hurt them that bad, of course. But definitely good job, Josh. We'll see you next week in Texas, brother. Have a good night.
All right. I appreciate it, Brian.
All right, that was Joshua Slade. Next up is Dale Brooks. He's standing by with Austin Edstrom.
Hey, Dale, very argy-bargy race there today. Congratulations on the P2 finish. Really good points day for you. Can you just kind of run us through your race, though, and just kind of explain the incidents that you were involved in from the driver's seat? It's very easy to judge them from the from the comfort of the booth, but obviously there's two sides to every story. So I'd just really like to kind of hear, especially the last one, just kind of what you saw from the driver's seat.
If you watched the last one, apologies to Chad, wasn't intentional. He got loose off the turn, turned right. You can hear tire spin, and I'm on the exit on full throttle, so I just didn't have time to catch it. It wasn't not anything I meant to do, obviously. Apologize to him. I'll be messaging him and talking to him this week, but it wasn't intentional. The first one early in the race, I felt like he left room on the bottom. I went down, then he didn't leave room on the bottom. So again, nothing intentional. We'll talk about it in the boardroom and assign a fault and all that. But yeah, I mean, if you just watch the replay, you can see off the turn right there in the last one, he turns right. You can hear his tire spin, and then then we make contact. I just green, white, checkered. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to really do there other than try to keep it throttled up.
Yeah, for sure. Up in the booth, the earlier incident, we probably put more fault on you for the earlier one, but the green, white, checker one, we were actually kind of split, and we're saying that we kind of thought McGinley was being a little bit indecisive coming off the corner, like he was almost in two lanes at once. Like if he would have just slid up in front of you, we thought that you would have just bumped him in the rear end, and y'all would have gone along with your merry way going down the backstretch. So we actually didn't think that you were at fault for the last one. It's just obviously from his driver's seat, it's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, for sure. He brought
on
his way all the way back up. Like I said, I got no hate and discontent or anything for Chad. I got mad respect for him. He's always fast. Like I said, we'll look at it. I'm sure if I'm at fault in the first one, I'm going to get a penalty. Not sure. I haven't got a chance to look at the Michael Hayes one. I feel like I was down there. I don't know. I mean, the Stephen Hayes one, again, we'll look at it. I just feel like at this track, if someone's under you, you either gonna give them room or you're not gonna give them room. And if you don't give them room, then bad things are probably gonna happen. But it is what it is. It's never what I want to go do is wreck anybody. Obviously, it's kind of not my style. But we'll talk about it and we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but nonetheless, even without the incidents, still a great finish for you coming home P2. Can you just kind of talk about how much the finish means for you and the points in terms of trying to make the next round?
Yeah, I mean, I had a real bad race at the last race. I made a huge mistake in the pit road, cost me a bunch of laps. So I needed a good finish. Not happy with how the race went, how I got the finish. But we'll come back next week and try to do better.
Are there any shout outs that we can give towards the end
Yeah,
of the interview right
as always, big shout out to you guys for broadcasting. Again, I apologize to Chad for both incidents. We'll go look at them again. The first one, if it's my fault, it's my fault. The second one, if they review it, I watched it very closely. He was super loose before we even made contact. But again, apologize. Other than that, thanks to my mom and dad. They're always watching and supporting my sister, my brother, and my kids.
Well, congratulations, and I hope that they're excited with your good performance here tonight. And we're looking forward to seeing you next week at Texas.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right, that was second place finisher, the number 32 truck, Dale Brooks. Now standing by with Brian Britt, we're going to pull in Bobby Mansell, our race winner. Brian?
I do apologize for my exit there, Austin. I had to step away for just a moment. I am back, though. With you are joining our in the booth by our winner, of course, Bobby Mansell. What a dominant performance, Bobby. I mean, you really earned this one here. I mean, you had the short run, you had the long run pace. I mean, it just seemed like no one could stop you out there for sure. But, you know, walk us through what was going through your mind when that caution flag flew late.
Which one? There was lots of cautions, but I thought I had that one coming up. I think it was around lap 95, and we had that one coming. I was just coasting. I thought the race was over, and then, then I started sweating. I was like, oh, okay, these guys are back in the race. I don't know how this is going to go. And then we got that second green, white checkered, and I was sweating even more bullets, but managed to pull it off, managed to jump those starts, get ahead of the guys, and just stay up front.
Yeah, you definitely managed to do that, that's for sure. And, it just seemed like you had a really good long-run pace. Towards the end of that 90-plus lap run, what were your tires looking like? I mean, they had to be pretty well worn out.
Oh, I was getting there. I think I was about 47, 73 or something like that. My right front was starting to go. That was the longest run I had done all week. I had practiced up to about a 70-lap run. I didn't plan on going close to 100. So that was new territory for me, but I was just started backing my corners up, trying to keep that right front alive as long as I could, and it seemed to pay off.
It definitely seemed to, and very awesome points day for you, for sure, at Bristol Motor Speedway. I know you've had very, kind of varying degrees of success all season long. You've had really good runs, but, you a lot of times just have trouble sealing the deal, but it seems like you're just locked in. What do you think that is? That is causing you to just be so focused right now?
Well, I think it was back at Mid-Ohio. I was talking to you guys, and I got new pedals, direct drive wheel, and now I'm just really dialed in with it, putting in the hours because, this is playoffs. This really matters right now. So I'm just trying to turn as many laps as I can and come out here and do the best I can.
Well, you definitely did exactly that. Of course, you showed a significant speed. Were you concerned about maybe those green, white checkers, some guys catching you, or maybe even did you struggle a little bit with being on old tires suddenly, and then going to new? Because a lot of times that could be a little bit shocking to the system to have to switch up your driving so suddenly. Because it's way different to drive on old tires than new tires.
Yeah, but the new tires was a breath of fresh air. I really wasn't too worried about that. I practiced for a green, white checker scenario, so I knew how hard I could push that truck. And I just wasn't too concerned about it.
That's very interesting to see that. So you have prepared for that. How did you prepare for that? Did you and the at the top guys kind of go in and do like faux green white checkers, or?
Yeah, exactly. We would do a few of those back to back, all trading spots, who started in first, second, and just made sure we knew how to handle the lines.
That's really significant to see that. That's why I think you guys have been so good. I think this late in the season. I mean, at the top has really hit their stride. For sure. So it just seems like you guys are all clicking. A lot of teamwork going on for sure. Of course, next week is Texas Motor Speedway. Not at the top of a lot of people's lists, but where do you think you guys are going to be? Where are you going to stand for Texas? Think you guys are going to be in good shape?
I think so. If we continue the trend of practicing and working together the way we are, I think we'll put up a pretty good fight there. I don't remember how well I did at Texas last time, but I'll just do the same thing we've been doing. Just put in the laps, put in the practice, push each other to better each other, and we'll see what we can do.
We have no doubts you guys are going to probably definitely be there at the end when we get down to the Final Four. But great job to you, Bobby. Who can we give a shout out to after this big win?
Big shout out to you guys behind the broadcast, all the guys that are showing up here for these huge playoff races. And I know I got a bunch of friends tuning in for this, family, so thank you guys. And everybody enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, Bobby. Well, thanks for your time. You enjoy the rest of your day as well, and we'll see you next week at Texas. Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
All righty, that was Bobby Mantle, our winner here tonight. Definitely, or today, I should say, a fantastic performance, dominating performance to say the least. I mean, he led the majority of the laps out here, and just seemed like he had it all put together. I'm really liking what I'm hearing, Austin, from those at the top guys. I mean, it sounds like they are practicing for every scenario. That's really interesting to hear.
Yeah, it just goes to show, we were talking about the last month or so, they've been probably the fastest truck week in, week out. And it's just because of how much time they've been putting into the sim, just making sure that they're completely set up for it every single week, making sure they're ready for, every scenario. Just to hear him talking about them practicing green, white checkers like that. They're practicing different race scenarios during the week. So just a very, very smart decision from that top guys, just to make sure that they have all of the boxes checked coming into the race weekend.
Yeah, 100%. Those guys have definitely been putting on a great show. Of course, we're not done with Bristol quite yet. We still have, of course, a race later here tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be going live, or a little bit after, or before that, we're going to be going live. Of course, the race itself starts at about 9. We'll be in I do believe, the RGR Kailu Glass Cup Xfinity Series. So, of course, we just finished their season out last week. We saw, of course, an awesome race there for sure at Old Atlanta. And, of course, we're going to be at Bristol tonight in the Xfinity. Those cars are very hard to handle at a already hard-to-handle racetrack. 200 laps, 9 p.m. Make sure you're there. Me and I do believe Justin Prince are going to be on the call for that one, so definitely looking forward to it for sure. Pretty much, I think that wraps up the week. Of course, we are going to be debuting, I do believe, a new series on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be our Grid Vision Super Speedway series. I'm really looking forward to that. Of course, look at our socials. We'll keep you kind of all apprised of everything that's going to be coming here in the next week. We'll have our schedule completed here in just a little bit. But, of course, that is going to bring us pretty much to the conclusion of tonight's broadcast on Grid Vision. Of course, congratulations to Bobby Mantle for winning here at Bristol Motor Speedway in the Global Racing Truck Series. I mean, this is such a awesome track to win at, and a crown jewel in my opinion. But I do want to thank as well everybody out there that tuned in today. I want to thank my co-commentator Austin Edstrom for doing a fantastic job as always. Of course, Austin Derbyshire doing an excellent job down behind the cameras, and anyone else that's involved with Grid Vision, we want to give you a thank you as well. My name is Brian Britt, and we'll see you next time.